I honestly thought this was going to be way more easier, and all of a sudden I feel myself wanting to cry. And it takes a lot for me to be vulnerable, especially to get in front of a camera and basically make a plea or try to find the answers that I've never been able to basically find. And I'm the main reason why I'm searching, if you don't know, I'm searching for my birth parents or my birth siblings, anybody that could help me figure out why I'm always sick all the time, why my body can't do what my mind wants it to do. If you don't know, I suffer from severe migraines to the point where I miss work sometimes a week at a time just because they're so bad, or I'm in and out of the hospital seeing specialists, getting all the tests run, and for them to be like, we don't know. And I also suffer from stomach issues where I'm pretty much nauseous all the time. Like my stomach is constantly upset. And for a long time, I was pretty much back, I want to say from 2010 to last month, I was taking tramadol, which is an opiate. And I was basically just living off of that solely. And as soon as I stopped taking it, my body began to crash because I wasn't one on that medicine anymore, but my stomach was just killing me. And I'm like getting ultrasounds, and eventually I'm probably gonna have to get the tube down my throat again to see how bad it is. But I feel like one of the most embarrassing things whenever, since I'm always going to these specialists, is whenever you have to fill out the information and they ask you, okay, your family history, and I I can't give it to them. I don't know, and it's frustrating not only to not know my medical history, but to not know why I act the way I act, why I look the way I look. And if you see my family, the family I grew up, that's all I know, and I love them so much. And I think that's the reason why it took me so long to get to this point, to where I'm forcing myself, and maybe it's the new year, but I am forcing myself to do this. But I remember my cousin Brittany, we were at a funeral, and we were all the cousins were standing together, like first cousins. And this lady came up and she was like, "Oh, y'all all look alike, but you must be a friend of the family." And till to this day, like I still think about that because everybody looks like Brittany looks like my mom so much. But the reason why I love her so much is because she did stand up for me and she went off on that lady. I don't even know who she was, but she hurt my feelings so badly. And it's things like that that make me want to know why. I guess I hate to say this, but why wasn't I good enough? Or sometimes I wonder, maybe I was good enough, and maybe, oh, my birth mother thought she was doing the right thing. But it's kind of hard when you have, probably when you have like a packet, and my whole life has been this packet. And sometimes I would, when my mom gave it to me, she finally gave it to me, I was, I read it and I didn't know how to feel. And I went to her it had to be in high school or something, because my parents told me, they were very honest with me. They told me when I was extremely young. And so when I was around, it had to be junior high or high school. My mom, after she gave me this, I sat down on the couch, and I just started crying. And I was like, why would you ever tell me I was adopted? Like, why couldn't you just say, or just have me believe, you know, that, you know, I'm part of you and dad? And she was like, well, Kara, I think people would notice a random baby just popping up out of somewhere. She was like, eventually somebody would have told you. And I was like, yeah, but my feeling, I don't know if it was my, I felt bad because they weren't my biological parents, and there was nothing that I could ever do to fix that. And I was just like, I just wanted some type of connection. To be honest, I just wanted to look like my parents. That's all. Like, it felt like I didn't have a sense of identity. And I don't know, I know for sure that I was more than afraid to hurt their feelings. Like, oh, what's gonna happen if I do find this woman or this man, and they and my parents think that, oh, I love them all of a sudden more than I love them. And that's the reason, main part of the reason why it took me so long to do this, because I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But now that I'm growing into myself and I'm figuring out a lot of things, I'm figuring out that I'm not complete. And even though I'm at peace with certain things, it's like this, I am not at peace with. And you can tell in my everyday life with my little quirky things that I do, but like my OCD is like overboard the more that I think about this. And I just want to be able to have better relationships, not just with men, but friendships, because I'm always so guarded, and always have this fear that, you know, somebody is just gonna not think I'm good enough, or they're just gonna pick up and leave and not give me an answer as to why. So Ziggy's back there. He's upset because he probably thinks I'm talking to a bunch of people. Oh, my poor baby. But I'm finally ready to do this for me. And many times before, I've tried to reach out to people, and it just led to a dead end. And then I would just forget about it until like the next year. And I noticed that I get more depressed, or my mood changes around August, September time, because that's when I was actually adopted. And I wasn't even in the foster system that long. I was born on April 15th, and basically right after I came out the chute, you know, she handed me off to whoever, and then I went into foster care where my family was actually white. And so when I look at my baby pictures, like, I don't have all the baby pictures that normal kids would have to look back on. I don't have that. I don't have those things. I just have a scrapbook, a photo book of these people that I have no idea who they are whatsoever. Just a white man holding me in most of my pics. And that's why I never really post, like, I post everything else, but I never really post throwback pictures of me being that young just because I don't have them. And it's sad and unfortunate, but especially for me, because I think that I like to hold on to a lot of things like for memory's sake, and I think that's why, because I'm like, I don't want to forget anything. So, mm, but enough explaining about that, because then I might end up crying and then Ziggy's probably gonna get even more upset. But this packet is, I guess, well, it says adoption readiness study, and basically it's what the social worker would go through with the mother or whoever is giving up the child. And it basically goes through, kind of like on the first sheet, it's almost like your birth certificate, but it kind of just explains what the mother went through as far as birth. Whereas, as you can tell, I'm one of those people that whenever I'm ready to do something, I do it. So basically, I was just, I don't know, like I just came right out. You know, I was ready. That's what it basically pretty much what it was. And so, um, I guess I don't know really how to do this, but I guess I'll just share my thoughts on this packet, because most of it is like, you know, like the checkups that you do for infants. So like I would go every so often, I would go to the same doctor. And you know what's really rude about this is that they said I was chubby. I was healthy, lovely, and chubby. That is so rude. But let's see. They described me as the ideal baby, my foster parents did. But basically, how the story went is my mom, my birth mom, she was in the army and she went out partying one night and she met this man who was my birth father. And so they had a one night stand and she ended up getting pregnant off of that. And what most people don't know is that despite what you heard, rumors about me, especially in college, what people don't know is when I grew up and I read this, my whole thing was I don't want to be like this woman whatsoever. I don't want to ever have to go through the thought of, oh, well, I'm pregnant. Do I have to give this baby up? And I never wanted anybody to feel the way I kind of felt. So I was like, I'm not having sex till I'm married. That was the plan. But, and I feel like it messed up a lot of my relationships because, or the attempt to be in one, because I was so sheltered. And there's nothing wrong with being sheltered, but I think people made me feel bad for not knowing things at like certain ages where you probably should. And when guys would hear that I was still a virgin, they were like, oh, pump the brakes, like it automatically turned into the friend zone. Oh, you good, stay over there. Which is, I didn't make it till marriage, but I will say I was 25 when I finally decided to make that leap. And a lot of people don't know that, and that's the main reason why. And finally I just got fed up with it, and I kind of just said, oh, I can't be like this woman. I can't live my life in fear of being like her, not being like her, somebody that almost seems like a figment of my imagination almost, but she's always with me. And it just seems like this punishment that I was putting on myself for, not going out and just, and just having fun. And I've noticed like recently over the past couple of years, when I've become more at peace with this, the more fun and out there I've been, more like you probably noticed, but I'm still very private about things like this. Me acting goofy just it's just part of it, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, that's basically what happened. And she wanted to have an abortion, but she realized it was against her religion. So then, I think before I misspeak, um, I want to say that, um, uh, hold on. Man, my mama cool. She's cold. Okay, so basically they had a one night stand, and she found out a couple of weeks later, and then she found out basically that the dude was shallow. Thanks. Thanks, birth father. But so once she decided to have the baby, she went back to being stationed, I believe it was in Virginia, and she was in a dorm room where she had this roommate, and her roommate ended up moving out because my birth mother, was too clean. Like, you go through that, I guess, pregnancy nesting thing. She was doing that. So it's weird because when you see my place sometimes, like, it is super clean. Like, I just can't help it. But then she ended up getting another roommate, which was a guy, and somehow they ended up dating while she was pregnant with me. And I'm like, dang, woman, you move fast. And so he was willing to step up and be a father and a husband, and he proposed to her, and she didn't want it just because, well, I should say she didn't want me, and she didn't want him to be there solely for me. And when I read that part the first time, I was so upset. I was like, you had the option to keep me, and you had this man that was willing to be there. But now that I'm older, I get it, because also I have a older half sister, and her name is, let's see, oop, nope, it's in here. Her name is Natasha Corey Linetius Mitchell. And so my birth mother was already previously married, and they had her, and then they ended up getting divorced. And so now that I'm older, I'm just like, okay, well, I see that you aren't great with relationships, and that she didn't want, I guess, like, another failed relationship. So now that I'm older, I see, like, okay, well, I guess that's a good reason. But at the same time, I'm just like, my biggest thing was, I have a half sister, and my half sister mainly stayed with my maternal grandmother in North Carolina, and my birth mother was stationed in Virginia. And so my whole thing was like, well, why didn't you keep me? Like, why wouldn't she watch me? Why? The whys and the what ifs take over your mind, and it can be so unhealthy and scary, and where your mind can take you is, it's dark, and it's someplace you never want to be. I will definitely say that. And for her to have all this going on and being 26 is a lot. It is definitely a lot. And I mm, I just, I find myself conflicted sometimes because I keep these what ifs and whys, and then I have this whole beautiful family that's there to support me, and they've been with me the entire way. And sometimes I feel selfish to feel, even though I have all that love, to feel lonely. And it's nothing that they can do to fix it. And I I wish, instead of it being like a closed adoption, that she would have given me some information about herself instead of what some social worker typed up. And it's like there's so much stuff missing. And the weird thing is, my natural, it also goes into her parents, like my maternal grandmother and grandfather, and they were divorced. And my my birth grandfather, he had bright red hair, so, and green eyes. And it's weird because I have this red patch of hair in the back of my head. And I remember my stylist being like, you color your hair? And I was like, no. And I never knew it was back there because, I'm not looking at the back of my head. I just be doing whatever to it. And she was like, your hair is red. And I was like, yeah. And so when I read this, I was like, oh, it makes sense as to why I would have red hair. But, and then it goes into her siblings, where she had 2 younger sisters and 1 younger brother. And when I was reading like their physical descriptions, everybody was short. Like, she was 5'3", her other sister was 5 foot, and then one was 4'6", and then the brother was 5'11". But I was like, I see where I get my height. And one thing they put on here is, on all of them, they put good brown hair. And you have to remember, this was done in 87. And I was like, good? What's good? I'm trying to figure out what good means. Still to this day, I'm like, good brown hair. I was like, okay. The last page, it says, reason for adoption. The pregnancy was a mistake on my part. The adoption due to my religious belief on abortion and my financial status at this time. And then it says the attitude towards the placement was that the birth mother felt it was in the baby's best interest. And I think I noticed that a lot of times, especially after I read this, that I was always apologetic, always saying, oh, I'm sorry. And somebody had to catch me. They were like, why do you always say you're sorry? And I'm just like, because I am. I didn't mean to do that. And for her to say that I was a mistake, it leads into that, especially after I read it. I was just like, well, I don't want to keep messing up here or messing up there, always trying to be perfect. I don't think people realize how, I don't know how these things can affect you when you grow up. Like, to call me a mistake and basically, like, you thought about having an abortion, but you're like, nah, I can't do that. But I'm like, all off of a one night stand. And that's why I just can't get myself into that at all. So I know I'm probably like leaving out a lot of stuff, and I know I'll probably go back in future videos and like explain more, but that's just like the icing on it. Um, what I plan to do is use every outlet that I can find to find her. I really don't have that much information on my birth father just because she didn't know who he was really, so that kind of is out the door unless I go through army services to try and figure something out. And I plan also on doing the ancestry.com. My mom thinks it's a good idea to at least try and figure some things out and see if anybody else is actually out there searching for me or if they even know about me. I know like all of this is going to be a process, and I'm going to be emotional, and the last thing I want to do is take it out on the people that are close to me, which is part of the reason why I'm usually private, is because I don't want to take everything out on those, because I just know myself, basically. I know I can go off on somebody for the wrong reasons, and so I just stay away and be private. But I don't know, I feel like with this, I need to be open and honest and transparent and just see where I can be taken. I will say my biggest fear is that they're not alive anymore and I'll never be able to, I guess, get certain things that I've always wanted, like just to hear their voice. I just want to know, like, how I got like this. And I've prayed about it, and I think I'm good. I didn't cry, did not cry. So we'll see. I think I'm I honestly don't have any more words because I think, or I feel as if I've gotten everything out there that I kind of wanted to for now. I know more will come, but I honestly, from the bottom of my goofy little heart, I just want to thank all of you for making it this far through the video, or even just looking at part of it. Starting something new like this is crazy, especially starting like a YouTube channel and basically letting everybody see it. It's gonna be a journey, but I'm looking forward to just putting out stuff about this journey or anything else in the meantime, in between time, because I know it takes like 6 weeks for the ancestry results, so can't be bored all the time. But if you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask, feel free to tell, and I'll put all the information down below as to where you can follow me, because I'm completely running a blank right now and I don't want to mess that up. But once again, thank you. I appreciate you. And I'll see you next time.